Welcome, guys. That is my cat background. But I hope everybody's having a great Friday. We're going to get charts up in a second. I'm in the corner here, and it has been a wild Friday, everybody. I hope you can agree that we need to take it easy, talk about what we're seeing, and learn from this week. I'm restarting my trading software, and we'll get that going in just a second. How's everybody doing? Let me know how it's going in the comments. Good to see you in here, Tyler. Yeah, Bala, it's an interesting look this week. We'll talk about whether we should trust this rebound or not. It's a tough one to tell. But I think we have some hints that we can talk about. All right, we're getting there. We might be getting there. Okay, going forward, I will definitely be using Trade the Pools, Trader Evolution charts. I might have to default to Trading View if I cannot get those working. So we're going to start there. Thanks for bearing with me, folks. Almost there. So crazy red to green today, right? So what can we kind of infer from an open like that? First off, from the overnight price action, and second off, from that open, we have to be very cognizant of positioning in times like this. And I will open my charts here in just a second, show you what I'm talking about. Here we go. Oh, almost there. Much better. So SPY, let's start with the daily. What is going on? We were testing this long-term channel that's held pretty well. This was a little sketchy, and this was really scary opening below it. We had the chance to really, really dump. If you look at this chart, no, let's see if I can find it. We're going to look at the gamma chart real quick here. And this is what we were looking at in the morning. So what this is showing us here is that at 600 here, there were so many puts on QQQ. And we'll go back and we'll switch over to QQQ. We opened below the 50-day. So this is a very big line in the sand. You can see last time it tested, we had a very definitive bounce from here. Very definitive for sure. So we got to respect what price does here. So when we close below or open below, it's very, very worrying. But if we can find a bid, it's probably going to want to fill the gap and retest because it's just such a big level. So that was how we were kind of framing it. We can also look pre-market at what our oscillators were doing here. So our oscillators actually crossed bullish right as the market was opening here. And that was really informing my belief that this dip was going to be respected here. So I actually took the short and I did not get long here. I missed it, and then I tried to get a back test of the high a day, and we never got there. If you zoom in, I really wanted this. I had an order there. Never got there and never looked back. So unfortunately, I missed most of this long, but I had swings, so did okay. But another reason why I think this bounce was valid and long-term is going to hold, might not, but long-term, makes me feel really good that it tapped into this blue zone here that's been super relevant. See this high volume profile node? We can actually tighten this up just to the very important part right here. And see it just transacted and showed this is still a very, very relevant long-term buying node. So when you combine that with the higher low, the convincing higher low from last Friday, you have a really nice potential rebasing occurring here. So what I'm seeing is the likelihood of us completing this W pattern up to 688. That'll be the kind of area where I'd be looking for buyers or sellers. And the first target will be, well, the first major target will be the middle of the W here. So we're keeping an eye on these for sure. Another thing worth noting is this daily trigger here, this black choppy line. I'm sorry, this is the hourly trigger here. And this is just more adding more confluence to it. So if we can reclaim this, we were fighting for it all day. If we can reclaim this, then I'll be looking for long swings. So that's kind of where we are at on SPY. But I did want to talk about the gamma just a little bit more here, because I think it's really cool and a tool that not enough people are using. So I was watching this on QQQ this morning. And this is how I was thinking about the day. We already gapped down a bunch. There's a bunch of targets above, but there's all of this gamma on the map at 600. So then when we went under 600, I'm like, well, what are we reaching for? Are we reaching all the way to 590? Because that seems like way too much of a move. That would just be crazy egregious with the lack of major news that we had today. So my thought process was, they don't want to pay these out down here, and they really don't want to pay these out up here. So when we're under this big level, the risk reward to go try to find a long to push above and retest this and close somewhere above 600, just so they don't have to pay out all of these puts if they expire in the money, seems like a very good risk reward. And by the end of the day, the gamma profile was obviously much different, because we started seeing more and more 605 calls being bought as we reclaimed 600, and then more 610s. And we basically were getting gravitated, pulled up to those higher strikes. And they were saying, we're going to let all of these expire. And then we closed under the big SPY put wall, or call wall, I apologize, at 676. So when we were, I missed the long, but I was mentioning that this is going to be our target to sell. And it just tagged it barely and popped back down. So I think that we're still really constructive. This looks like a cup and handle to me. We can draw it just like this. Nice little channel. So maybe we get a nice dip on Monday. That'd be really cool. Nice dip on Monday, and then we can go up more. That's where I'm looking for SPY. Good to see you in here, Lance, and talk. Ball is saying we may have a small dead cat bounce or relief rally, and then continue to flush next week. That is maybe on the table, but we just have to kind of wait and see. One other thing that we can look for. Well, first off, just the oscillator, this is very healthy. This nice double bottom crossover and still expanding like this. Whenever you get a nice double bottom crossover like this, like 1-2, you usually get a nice push. But like Ball is mentioning, it could be a dead cat, like this one was. This one was a dead cat, and then big flush out where we needed to make a new low. That being said, we're making this one in much more oversold territory, so it gives me more reason to believe in it. Here's another double bounce, double bottom, and you can see this was way down here. We double bottomed, and then you had a nice expansion. But essentially, we're waiting, or we would be trading until this gets overbought, and then you have a crossover bearish. So I think, according to this system, we still have some room up here. What we can also look at is a fib ratio, or there we go. A fib ratio of the recent range. And we can see we surged up to the 50%. We came back and we're holding the 6.2, nice and tighty. So as long as we are above this 0.62 at about 671.70, I would expect the magnet to be up here at the 50, and we will kind of watch price into this to decide which direction we're going to go. I think up is more likely, and then we would be looking for the 6.2 up here and watching price reaction there. Often price will come here, come back and test the 50, and then surge up here. But I think we are trying to come home to this big volume node up here. This is very substantial, and if we've made a bottom and we're over this node, and we're back testing it right now, so we got to push up over it, and we can get over this swing high, which is represented by this high volume node, then we have a nice room to run up to this 786 fib, which is right at 680. So next week, the play that we'll be looking for is a small dip Monday. And as long as we reclaim 672-ish, 673-ish, we're going to be looking for a push up into 680. So we're going to talk about some other trades that we took. But I'm just catching up on comments here. Some rare earth buzz, and the charts are setting up, so I do want to talk about those for sure. And welcome to the Oplin group, by the way. Good to see new faces in here. So if you guys have any trades that you want to talk about, just drop them on in. We can talk about whatever you guys want. I will try to kind of pick up on the vibes of chat and direct it that way, but I'm also going to be talking about some of the trades that I like. But looking at rare earths, how are you guys playing it? You guys like MP, the leader? I think this is probably the way I'd like to play it. But maybe just the indices. This is looking really constructive. You have a nice curl over here, nice flag break. I think this is really pretty. We can chart it out a little more here. Say there's a nice high volume node here. This is going to be the area we're looking to break through. I think that if we do see some more red, which I'm not really expecting, but if we do, we would love a chance to buy in this low volume node where there's also a gap. That area there would be really nice, but I don't know if we'll get that. That would also pose as a nice higher low and give this more structure. So I'm going to keep an eye out for this level here, but I think it's very likely that it will respect this 50-day. And speaking of 50 days, the MP was a great 50-day trade. We are losing it, and this is the high flying momentum one. So I actually am not 100% sure if this is one to keep looking at. The weekly momentum looks like it needs to cool off a lot more. It did very neatly tag the 50% of the initial range after sweeping higher. So the question is this a megaphone and we're getting a good discount here off of the weekly trigger? Very possible. It swept under this big volume shelf. It just might need to go back once more. So something to consider there. I know a lot of people like the USAR trade. We do have a possible back test. Looks a little better on the daily here. And we do have that 200-day moving average. So if you're a long-term investor and you believe in this company, I don't know a ton about the fundamentals. I just took it as a trade in this range, sold it here, kept going up here. But this is an area to be interested for sure. We can chart that out. And again, we're using the volume profile here, drawing this big fat shelf. And I like to differentiate colors. So this is like point of control, the highest point of volume. And this is the area of interest. It could chop around a little bit, but as long as this holds on daily and more importantly, weekly closes, we should see a push up probably to the top of the shelf, at least to this right here, which is not very far to be honest, so not worth a trade. But if we get up here and probably into this imbalance, into this gap, then we're really cooking. That's worth a trade, all right. So those are ones to keep an eye on. And UAMY, I think, is looking like a nice in-between between the super speculative USAR and the a little more blue chip MP, but realistically, the REMX is the safe way to play it. But this is another one that has a nice little downtrend action, trying to break through, trying to peekaboo, trading back into this high volume shelf, trying to hold the bottom. So we're going to keep an eye on this. It's nice when you have this breakout, get retested really cleanly, right to the body of the breakout candle and hold that. So we like to see that. Kind of where I'm at in regards to this sector here. Let's see, that's interesting. Talk mentioning that REMX is much safer, but they restocked the holdings to have LAC or ALB near the top. I do like the ALB chart, I will say. Wow, it is so strong, yeah. I was wondering if it was a buy opportunity this morning. This looks beautiful, doesn't it? Long term. Real pretty, real pretty. I think it wants to reach up, yeah, to 140 probably. So that is one that I feel like I missed. Maybe we get a back test of 107-ish, but man, I was charting it and watching it down here and it just got away from me. So that's interesting. Ray asking, is HIMS still in play? Not with a Z, unless you're just buying now. The leveraged ones, you got to be real careful about holding. So you can see both of the paths that I thought it might happen. It is just failing those. This is a chart failure where my idea was wrong. So I got stopped out of HIMS quite a while ago, to be honest. I think the next area of interest. Look, it had this low volume node. Just kind of knifed through it and it's into support. So how deep does it need to go? Does it need to reach down to this big shelf all the way down at 28? Not really sure. We have to kind of wait and see where the buyers actually step in. Another thing we can look at is this breakaway gap here, just like UAMY. That one went parabolic and then had to come back down and heal that. So we might be looking at 30.93 and it might dig a little deeper to get the 30 handle. So that's the area where I'd be looking. Honestly, though, this is a chart that I don't love. If you want exposure to GLP, I know it's a chase, but just look for any significant dip on this or wait for the 10-day moving average to catch up, because this one is going to have no chill probably for quite a ways. I'd say probably to 1200. So you can get your exposure there, or even NVO is looking a little bit better. This one's looking a little more bottomed out than HIMS with this double bottom here. And it's off of the nice high volume shelf. So these are better ways to play that theme, I would say. Upland Group mentioning that HIMS has a lot of new competition, including from manufacturers, but Hone Health, Maximus, and probably 4 to 5 others. Yeah, there's been so much in flux with the fundamentals of this name that it's a very different company than when it was trying to break out, like right here, for example, or right here, for example. I mean, like, just a lot of things have changed in the past month, at least enough for investors to strongly reconsider whether this is going to be a momentum breakout type play. So that is what I'm thinking there. Tyler talking NVIDIA. Let's take a look. I just like this shelf. I love these points of control, these high volume shelves. You guys, I'm telling you, the volume profile is such a useful indicator. Gives you so much information. So long term, I wonder if NVIDIA, if what we're seeing is a big old megaphone that's trying to break out. It's not look bearish, and it shouldn't be. So good for them. All right, I like it. I like it. Really strong candles, saving a lot of charts today. We can just go through the top 20 here real quick. Meta digging back into deep support, tagged point of control just about. Yeah, at 600 and is respecting that. Man, it slid hard. So, yeah, Meta 600, that's a level to watch if you're a day trader, or if you're a swing trader, you can get in there and look for a decent upside. Oracle, I do not like the chart. I think it wants to fill this gap down here before it does much of anything. Broadcom, weaker than NVIDIA. I would still like to see it fill this breakaway gap, but maybe it doesn't need to. We can look for a reclaim of the point of control, which is basically the high a day. So ambiguous close, trading right back into the point of control. If it flips, back test, you can get long, but it's a little bit early, a little underdeveloped here. Google, on the other hand, much better in after hours. They also had good news. You love to see that. Google respecting the moving average cloud. You keep holding as long as it keeps holding, and it can bring you to the promised land. Let's see. JM, what is the oscillator that the top is measuring? Great question. So this is called the wave trend oscillator, and it's going to be similar to other oscillators. It's going to not tell you anything too crazily different than RSI or MACD, but where it kind of differs a little bit is that it uses double smoothed moving averages for both of the lines. And this generally gives you a better indication of trend, as in the tops generally top out roughly in the same place and the bottoms generally top out of the bottom at the same place, roughly. So it gives you a very easy idea of where you are in this wave trend. So this is my favorite oscillator by far. I used to not even really use them when I found this one. I did a lot of back testing because someone I really trust swore by it. And so I put so many different oscillators next to each other, and I was trying to figure out which had an edge, if any. And this one was clearly had a small edge in many situations, enough that I was like, oh, I should have this on my chart. And it's been very, very good for my trading. So yeah, wave trend oscillator. I use, uh, what's it called? This one by FS Crypt. Yeah, so not RSI, but pretty close. Oh, VKTX is an interesting one that I forgot about. That's the YOLO. I was involved with this one for a while and got stopped out because it did that. Don't believe this flag, by the way. False flag. Thought it was up here. Now it looks like it's bottomed out off of previous highs. That's a pretty chart. Look, it's a nice double bottom. Once it clears the neckline here, it's ready for business. That's an interesting one. There's a lot of healthcare charts that look really good. This is one that I think looks phenomenal, but I'm just waiting for it to give me an entry. I did not feel like 91 under 92 was enough of an entry this morning, but this is one that I really, really believe in. I think this is a beautiful, beautiful base. It's got everything you look for. You got the really nice cup action, got the really clean handle action, you got the really clean downtrend burst, you got the clean boost over neckline, doji back test push off. I think this one's awesome. I think it's going to top out maybe 98 to 100-ish, and then it's going to come back and give us an entry. And I'll be looking to get that after this goes like up and down. But I might have to chase a little bit because it just looks so strong. MRK, that looks great. AZN, AstraZeneca, this one's insane. So we can look at what it did the last time it did a very similar move. Came up, had to come down, surges up to here. I'd consider this a surge move. And starts to find sellers, but grinds higher, and then surges for a blow off. And we might be looking at a channel here now that I look at it. Roughly something like that. Pretty decent. Some decent headroom here, but again, starting to roll, not roll, but flatten on the weekly. Monthly still has a lot of room. Daily could be getting tired, but these are names that I want to definitely watch. I put these in a focus list or a watch list, and I just go through them at the end of every day, and I just like kind of wait for them to come to me, so to speak. One that might be doing that right now is Rivian, so it might be back testing a major breakout. If we are right about this one, which I'm not sure anymore. I don't hold a position anymore, but it could be back testing the top of this kind of big volume shelf. May have to come in a little bit more to like 14-ish, but I'll be watching this because the base has so much potential. I actually do see the weekly or the monthly is running just a little bit hot, even though the weekly has plenty of room. So yeah, this is one that I'm definitely looking at. But while we have it up, let's talk about the trade that we took on here. Because we got long Rivian right off of our weekly trigger here. Or is it daily? I forget. Oh, that was just the hourly. Okay. Regardless, I'd been watching it the day before because it had gapped up really nicely and then it had V-shaped. And I was like, man, okay. So this is like a name that's showing a lot of strength. I want to be involved when there's a big base like this that's showing a potential major breakout, and I want to try to buy a dip once it's kind of proven itself at a bottom of a new range. So it came down and it set a new range because it had a really strong bounce, but it couldn't get the new high. So I was looking for this low to either sweep out and reclaim or to just do a higher low. And we did get the one sweep out and then the higher low here. So this was kind of the setup where, okay, it set a range And I think it wants to range expand, and this is a flag for a move higher, like on the hourly. Yeah, right here. So we have the double bottom, and it closed right over this downtrend line as well. So I was thinking, okay, if this is a breakout, I saw it drifting up pre-market, another good sign. Where would they flush it out to get a nice long entry? And I was thinking this hourly trigger is looking really nice because it has confluence with the kind of neckline of the space and also the bottom of this volume shelf here. So they could sweep under here where there's really no supply, no reason to be down here. And then they can wick it back up. And this is where they want to be and potentially push it much higher. So that was how I was framing the setup. And that's why in the morning, when this dumped, oh, and the other thing is I saw a ton of flow on the 16 calls for Rivian. People were buying them down here. People were also slamming them at the end of the day. And so I was also watching this dump to the level where people were just buying calls. And so that was another reason why I kind of expected it to slow down when it came back into this level and potentially base out there, because all of those calls kind of provide a wall there. So we get the back test, and we see the one down here. And then right here, I say, okay, I remember saying, all right, we're looking for a higher low or a sweep out, basically a sign that this is an area of demand. And it's where we opened yesterday. I can just draw this out for clarity. And we saw this respect, so we were keeping an eye on it, came up, and then we were looking for this to be the higher low or anything like that. Then when it engulfed right here off the higher low, reclaimed this nice volume shelf, that is when we went long. And so we got everything we're looking for, right? We have the high time frame setup where it's got a really long-term base and it's showing a breakout. We didn't chase. We waited for it to come to us and show that it was ready to go further. Then even on the intraday, we waited for it to fully form a base. 1, 2 bottoms on the opening dump here into the big higher time frame level. We get in on a confirmation of the higher time frame level. So premiums went insane. We were buying calls, 16 calls at 14 or 16 or 20 cents in that kind of range. They were already a triple up here. That's the other thing. If you have a big high flyer name and then it takes a 10% tumble, the premiums get really cheap and whales start getting interested in buying them up again and driving the price up. So our targets were, we'll switch back to the high time frame. We got in, what was it right there? First target was right here, trimmed at 16.16. Really nice gain there. Second target was 17.18. Trimmed there. Then third target was this imbalance, which I don't know. Oh, we did get it. We didn't get the big third target, which was right here, because if it got beyond that, then it could really squeeze. So yeah, that was the main third target. And then I got stopped out at the second target again on the way back on the last runner. But both of these were, just over 10 bags. So that was a really fun trade. You don't get too many of those, but when they happen, feels good. So just to recap, what you can look for is a high flyer that broke out and then a back test of a key level. So we had this amazing breakout and flush out once, flush out twice and set a range, and then come back, show that we want to break the range. See how this tick right there broke over here, just showing an incentive of the internal market structure to break positive. So then we're looking for any dip into the key levels here, into this kind of order block, you could call it, this neckline. Then you can get a nice explosive move with pretty limited risk. Because if you're getting long right here, your risk is under the low day. That's tiny, tiny. All right. What do we got? Valerie asking if I could look at ASTS and TSM. Absolutely. Let's take a look at those. So we got space and we got chips. Let's start with space. Messy charts here. We'll see it has taken the red path down to some degree. What do I see here? I like that it's back testing here. This was usually an area to look to buy ASTS historically. That's when I was telling people to look long when it came back to this previous high, when it was way overextended here. We did not get this move, as you can tell. Well, it took a while, but we did eventually. But we came back down to this previous high and found a nice volume there, a nice supply there, or demand there, I should say. We got to see if we're seeing the same demand. It was under average volume, but it was decent volume. But hopefully we have a nice green week next week and we put in nice, clean, defined volume off of this level. But this is where we can look, this 60-80 to, they call it 60 to 61 zone. We really want to see this hold. If it does, let me clear these lines off, make it clearer. If it does, then it still needs to get through this cloud, this 50% fib, and this downtrend line. So it's got a lot of work to do. It probably doesn't V-shape. And what you can probably do is wait for it to break up into this gap and come back down to the 50. And this might be a safer entry than trying to bottom fish down here. But long term, I do believe in these stocks. I think they might need to cool off more. I'm not really sure what their path is. This is the kind of the case on a lot of momentum. It's a little bit hard to tell which path they've chosen yet. Like, look at this uptrend line here that's back testing. This could be like Bitcoin, where it's doing an uptrend line, back test, and then it surges higher. But you look at the weekly momentum and it's starting to diverge down. This could be the start of a much bigger slide like we saw on SMR, one of the weaker momentum names, where this one is having to come way down. And despite that, it still is generally like in a long-term uptrend, I would say. It's kind of a big channel as long as it holds somewhere over 18, 19. So that's kind of my thoughts there. TSM, on the other hand, looking really tight. Pretty much kind of also at an inflection point. I don't think it's quite ready. See, these are still kind of expanding downward on the daily. You can look at the 4-hourly. That did cross bullish, and we do have the potential double bottom. So we could be ready to go on these. Chips in general are a little bit weaker than other sectors. I think the big thing to think about here is that we're waiting on NVIDIA earnings next week. So we got to be very careful about what we do in regard to that. You know, you can play this as a way to play NVIDIA without getting the extra, premium on the options there. But in general, from a purely technical perspective, I'm not sure this is fully ready. I do think that it's bullish overall, and this is the draw, this big volume shelf up here. But it probably doesn't break through on the first test. It's probably good for a mean reversion play long up to 290, 291, something like that. I think that's what I'd say there. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but someone said Mongo. This is a chart I really like. MDB. This one's holding up nicely. Swept through previous highs. Or swing high. Coming back, testing the base with a nice kicker candle there. Closed back up over the 21-day or the 20-day. I like this one. Obviously, Datadog is leading the way up. A little bit of a U-turn, but still holding its gap up. So we can also watch Datadog for a potential entry here as the space is out, but I probably don't love it quite yet. We're just crossing over bearish on the daily, and we are, we could be job done, mission accomplished, swept the highs, game over for quite a while. It is possible, so I'm not looking to get long on this. We could see a cup have been formed and now it needs a handle to form. Could be a very rough hold if that is the case, even if it's just back testing this downtrend line breakout. So be a little careful there just because this was the big liquidity draw. Swept the highs and now we did see signs of rejection. And we are potentially not going to hold this. If we lose this, you can look for little short down here, and you can look to get long here, because that probably does hold. But there is potential for the need for a bigger pullback. Alrighty, let's see, going through the comments here. All right, David has an interesting question here that I don't know if I can answer, to be honest. Let me find the part one here. All right. What's up, Steve? I wanted to stop by. Yeah, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Here is something to think about. I have tons of put contracts I could never afford to exercise if they were in money. Okay. Part two. So how much is fair commission or fair fee or fee to exercise very large numbers from a bank to front it and sell immediately with their trader? Part three. How often is the contract sale worth less than the intrinsic if you were able to exercise what would be millions? David, I'm going to be honest with you. This is out of my pay grade. I am not sure. It's my lot in life is that I've never had the issue of having to exercise a large number of contracts. So I could not tell you. It's an interesting thing to think about, though. I'm just the crayons guy. Isn't that right, little buddy? Good to see you, man. All right. We're going to hop into some more charts in just a second. Oh, ASTS just dropped an offering. Small one. Let's see how the market likes it. Looks like they don't care. Interesting. Hey, Darius. Good to see you. If I pass a 25K account, do I keep the profits on the funded too? So how it works is if you pass the account, then it will reset to a funded account. So back to 25K. And then if you make the money from that point on and pass the target, then you can withdraw and you'll get, the large majority of that money. And, the trade the pool gets a cut, as do all prop trading companies. But yeah, that's how it works there. Let me know if you have any other questions. So ONDS, let's talk about it. The drones, the retail drone darling that got beaten on down, but it doesn't look bad. Nobody likes to say it if they're holding a stock that's down 56%, but that's an orderly sell-off. That's an orderly sell-off. I think we do some Elliott waves here. One, two, three, 4, 5. Correction. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. I'm not an Elliott wave guy. I'm not a nerd. Just kidding. I'm just a driving engagement from all the Elliott wave traders. Tell me, what do you guys think about this count? Do you think this count looks good? I think it's valid. 1, 2, 3. Long term, I think it's a bullish chart. Long term, I think the liquidity draw is up here to $18 or so. I guess you could just say that we are digesting this big pivot. That looks good. And we need to clear this one here. $8. So $8 is the level to watch. If we can break over $8, I think we are on our way to sweeping highs and pushing much higher. Little buddy asking, Steve, is CoreWeave in wave 5? Wave 5 is at the end when it does good things. This is not that, but it might be doing an Elliott wave. Let's take a look at it. So you count them in waves of 5 on different time frames. So since this low got broken by here, this is not its own wave. This is one wave. If in theory it, did bottom here, we'd go like this. And then we would draw a third wave, which would have to be bigger than the wave 1 to 2. Something like that. Then the wave 4 is usually more of a sideways correction. And then wave 5 is usually roughly the same size as wave 1. So it looks something like that. CoreWeave will be $1,000 by the end of next year. You heard it here first. Obviously, this can take this long. This can take this long. This can take this long. But in general, this is the kind of wave structure. What we might be seeing is a 1, 2, 3 correction. And I'm not a big Elliott wave guy. I might be breaking some rule. I might get punished by the Elliott wave commission later. But usually 1, 2, 3 moves for pullbacks. So when this does bottom, probably good for a decent wave up. Okay, you said look at a shorter time frame. Wait, shorter time frame or look at the monthly? Which one am I looking at? Talk saying, remember they started as a Bitcoin miner. They're getting treated like a Bitcoin miner now. Think it's going to 45, 50? I wouldn't be surprised. They're beating the heck out of all of them. So I like 65. I think that's a big area of interest. We have just this empty space. It could go down to 55. Yeah. It could go down to 48. Totally. No, it's worth looking at. Thanks for bringing it up. All right. What else we got going on? We got more trades here. I got more stuff I want to talk about. You see this watch list, guys? I'm not messing around. Zim. Container shipping looking interesting. We've got a nice downtrend line here that's trying to break through the 200-day right here. I like it. I like it. We've got the nice double bottom on this time frame area. We've got the nice double bottom on this time frame area. This thing loves to move when it does. Let's do a bit more TA here. Just because I like symmetry. Oh, is it doing the real thing? No, not yet. That's a level to watch too. That's probably a good target right around 20 in like a month or so. And that would be, I bet that would be a 50%. Yep. Well, 19. Close enough. Right around there is where you'd be looking to sell. But it does have potential to be a double bottom. Because I do think shipping has legs. Because when you look at tankers, like, we'll look at the leader first. This looks incredible. Just breaking into blue skies here. Wants to go higher. But this one IPO'd relatively recently. If you look at tankers that have been around for more than a year or two, you'll see that they all got destroyed post GFC. But they finally look like they're putting in constructive long-term bases here. Fundamentals are incredible on these. I am in frontline, but ECO is probably the highest quality. This is up there. This is the best one if you trade options. It has the highest liquidity. You can also look at STNG. Again, same massive long-term bullish chart here. And INSW. Boom. Yeah, so love these tanker names for longer-term swings. All right, good to have you in here, David. Take it easy. Have a good weekend. Yeah, Bitcoin below 100K. Is it so over? Sorry for the chaos confetti chart here. It's looking real bad, guys. You want to see something that makes it look even worse? Close your eyes if you're a crypto guy. Whoops. This is the chart that looks good. This is the version that does not look good. So this is Bitcoin compared to gold. Guys, I thought this was the new gold. What's going on? I don't feel so good. So, what I would say is that if you are a Bitcoin maxi, consider becoming a gold maxi. Because if you're looking for an alternative store of value and there are two contenders, you don't buy the one that's chart looks like this. Because this is literally in direct comparison to gold. So, like, do you like this chart or do you like this chart for a long-term investment? I don't know about you, but I'd rather buy something that's doing this. So, I am a gold bug, I suppose. I am my version of the crypto guy's thesis. I just have for gold, basically. I think it's going up. Hey, Kevin, good to see you here. TRMD over Sting. Torm. This one has better fundamentals. Oh, yeah, it looks a lot better, too. All right, no Sting. You heard the boss. No Sting. These all look good. Would I say gold shares, Darius? Yeah, I would say gold shares. There's a few ways you can play. So this is a long-term thing, but you can get leverage. Just for reference, gold path was a little late, but wasn't wrong. Tagged up into this high volume node. Now we're coming back and we retested this low volume node and our moving averages. I still think this setup's valid. It just might take a little bit of time. Real quick, I'll draw it out, then I'll talk about how I'll play it. I think this is a pennant. I think it pops up and comes back once more, and we get one more entry. In general, I like playing it a few ways. Whatever you do, buy time, whether it's contracts or shares. I like leaps, and I like 450 leaps or 400 leaps, depending on your budget and risk tolerance. There are other ways you can play too that we can talk about. You can look at this chart, GDX over GLD. And this is the strength of gold miners versus gold. And usually when we were in a risk-on environment, gold miners will outperform gold because they're like higher torque, higher leverage, basically. Especially in an environment that's very risk-on due to rates. So what I would say, I haven't looked at this chart in a while. I would say that we might be done with this trend for a little bit of gold miners outperforming. I am going to keep an eye on this. I don't have like a super high conviction look one way or the other. What I do feel much more strongly about when it comes to precious metals is that the trade we should be looking for isn't even just gold. It's actually more silver. Silver, I think, looks absolutely phenomenal in comparison to gold. And I still love gold. Oh, whoops. This is over GD. I have no idea what GD is. Let's see what the actual chart looks like. Maybe it looks terrible. I haven't looked at it in a week or two. No, it still looks amazing and very similar. Looks better, actually. Can draw one more trend line. Hey, John. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're having a good week. Hope you're about to have a great weekend. So, I think silver is the way to play. I am in some silver miners. What the heck are they? I always forget the tickers. They're in my long-term account. I did my homework a couple months ago and haven't looked at them since. What is it? EXT? EXK? Yeah, EXK. That's a hard ticker to remember. So, in at 656, currently trading for 775. I trimmed at 10. 10 trim was nice. I did not buy more when it came back to my entry, which I could have. Currently up, yeah, what? 20%-ish. I think I have a whole lot of room to go. I think these charts long-term are just getting started. HL is another cool one. Hecla, this is North America's biggest silver mining company. Long term, look at these charts, guys. This move is just getting started. I got a test for you. Find me any ratio chart comparing any equity to gold. Actually, any equity to silver. Just find me any single one that's out that looks like silver will underperform long term. Find me anything that will outperform silver long term. I'm going to lose half of my viewers because they're all finding out I'm a silver bug. That's okay. That's okay. Platinum and palladium too. Yeah, let's look at those. What's the ETF? PLTA. Yeah. Incredible. Look at that. That's just getting started. Beautiful chart. Looks like it's reaching like that. And palladium. Pow. Yeah, this is beautiful too. Big downtrend line, big higher low. If we draw our handy dandy point of control from the previous swing high, look at that. Boom. Let's draw it a little neater right there. Yeah, perfect. So long term, this one looks good to go. It has got room for expansion on the monthly. On the weekly, it could need to chop a little bit. Often what you'll see when the monthly is in expansion, that the weekly oscillators can cool out and chop sideways while the price drifts up. So this doesn't mean sell it. It just means we got to watch. And it makes sense that it would need to digest and chop because it's digesting the weekly 200. Very fine, very healthy. We can look at the daily and we see that we basically got pennants here. It's interesting that this underperforming silver, not surprising because nothing is underperforming silver, but it is worth noting that it's not just like the less loved the metal, the more it's bouncing now. It's not like a mean reversion type thing. Talking the Vale trade, very nice. Very nice, very nice. Just higher and higher every day. How's EWZ doing? I stopped looking, so it's probably up a lot. Yep, there we go. So this is another long-term trade. Into the next year, you can just buy EWZ and not worry about things because it will outperform U.S. markets. Probably. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know over the next year. Over the next 5 years, I think it probably does. Same with China. Not that. Whatever this is, don't buy it. My X key is sticking. Long term, these are big, giant bases. Long term, the trend is that China is improving. They are being offered at very cheap rates when you compare to QQQ. See what I'm talking about? It's been trading down or flat while QQQ has been going exponentially. China is not some backwater third world country. Just because the Wall Street refuses to respect them doesn't mean that we have to not make money off of them long term. So yeah, this was my thesis 40% ago. It's my thesis now. Just about any emerging market is going to do very well long term. Look at EWW. There's a lot of money to be made around the world as the dollar loses its dominance. Speaking of which, trying to hold. We shall see. We shall see. It's the level to watch. This uptrend line. Okay, one more thing here. So this is in a giant pennant that closes in June 2030. I think in 5 years, there will be an inflection point for the dollar. Somebody quote me on it in 5 years. I'm just looking at this now long term and just seeing that. All right. All right. Could I look at Main and Google? Yeah, I don't even know what Main is. Let's start with that. Main Street Capital. Oh, somebody was talking about this one. I forget what they do, but it sounded interesting. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm drawing this high volume shelf. So I see that this is an area of interest. And then what I'm going to do, zoom in, I'll look for kind of levels within this block. And so you see this level right here, and then it's kind of got like this head, like, kind of like the head of a head and shoulder pattern on top of it, kind of. And then it goes down there, and it goes down there. So this is the area that I think is most relevant. So I will draw my block from there to there, see? And usually when you go back over, you'll see a decent amount of area of interest touching. And if not, you can adjust a little. Like it looks like maybe this one's a little more relevant, this shelf. And that makes sense because there's a big steep drop off. So I'll draw there and there. See there, there. Acting as a pivot here. A little zone tutorial. So main, starting to curl on the daily right into the middle of the histogram. Starting to potentially lose this ribbon. I'm not sure that this is a solid base yet. I think that this could be, it could be a ascending triangle base like this with the flat top here. That's possible. So it might come down, come up, test again, come down, make a higher low, and then go. It could be, though, a rising wedge type pattern like this, and it might need to drop. And it'd probably be a failed rising wedge where it doesn't break down here and get the full measured move target or anything. It probably just does a failed breakdown to somewhere in here, maybe to this level, maybe to this level, and then rebases. I wouldn't be in a rush to get into this one unless there's some fundamental reason to. Long term, it does look constructive, and it does look like it wants to go higher at some point. Google, I'm a long-term holder. I don't touch my Goog until 300, and then I will trim 1/3 of my long-term position and not worry about it for quite a while. I think that it is just trucking along, doing its thing. It was an amazing setup with this cup and handle. We were getting involved down in the 160s, and it's just time to ride it out, and I'll trim a little more at 313 because it'll be right about a double. And then I will hold my free shares of an amazing mega cap company forever. That's my plan on Google. If you're looking to get involved, you should have been following my newsletter down here. No. What should you do? You should look for the 50-day. You could look for a stronger base out at the 20 and the 10 cloud. Like right here, this is a stronger base out, but right here, this is not good enough to buy. That being said, I could see the argument for a little megaphone pattern here. And it catches and continues higher. Totally valid. You could take a shot here with a stop under here. I personally would be looking for this gap to wick down into and this 50-day to test. So 260 to 265. Any chance that Google will go down a bit to buy the dip? Yeah, I think so. I think that there's a pretty decent chance that it comes back and revisits this big high volume node right here at 253-ish. I'd really like to see that. Maybe it only needs to fill in these low volume nodes here to 259-ish. But definitely I think it needs to test 260 to 265. It doesn't have to. Like I said, it could tighten up here. But as I look at it now, that'd be the area where I'd be like, I think based on this chart, if it was to drop there tomorrow, that's the area I'd be looking to get involved. To 200? No. Yes, there's some chance. There's always some chance. I would sell everything I own and live in an RV and buy Google until Google is 500 if it went to 200. How about that? A 28% drop on what I think is the strongest fundamental mega cap story. Yeah, I'd load the boat. So probably not, but I hope so. And that's me as somebody with a big Google position already. Alrighty, guys. Alrighty. I'm going to go over my watch list and see if there's anything else that I really want to talk about with y'all. I think we talked about most of it. We did just hit an hour, so start getting any more questions than you have. I will answer all the questions you guys have, and then we will wrap it on up. Thank you so much for tuning in, y'all, up to this point. And like I said, we will finish answering any questions you guys get in the chat in the next 5 minutes or so. Predictions on ASTS and AMD. Yeah, sure thing. Let's start with AMD. I like this one more. This one's showing a little more progression. See, Google is like here in the process. This one came up, came down, put a higher low in probably. So we're seeing compression. So very bullish because on a higher time frame, excuse my schizophrenic lines here. We were having fun. What matters is just this all-time high line here, and it's respecting. And long-term, this is a big rebase, a big one bottom, two bottom. So we have room much higher. I think 300 is a very nice target. I think we go higher than that overall. And on the weekly, this is healthy. So we can keep looking for this uptrend line to be respected. This 5-week moving average where we responded at 236 on the daily, that will be right about 236. And really this 21-day or this 20-day moving average and 240 is the level we want to see reclaim. So we can look for strong buyers underneath that and get involved underneath it. And then it reclaims and we have a nice safe entry here with a nice tight risk. That's how I would look at AMD. And ASTS, these space names are hard. I'm very bullish on them. It's just a matter of when. Right now, we are under the 50. I cannot touch it. That being said, we're finding buyers under the 50. So maybe it reclaims and it's off to the races. But maybe it's one of these reclaims where it needs to puke like 20% first. Yeah, 25%. So it's a little bit tough, right? A little bit tough. In general, though, I like that we're just holding the top half of this flag. It's very constructive for a 50% decline, 43% decline. Any chance of a drop on AMD? Yes, there is a chance. If it does drop, you can look for 226 to hold. If you're looking for a bigger drop, you look for the 50-day at 20, like it'll be about 210. And if it loses the 50-day, then it probably drops back to somewhere between 160 and 180, and that's like the long-term loading zone. It seems ASTS could drop 48 max and then we'll fly back to 100. Yeah, in general, I'm very bullish long-term to 48 max. Yeah, so basically retesting this breakout. I would be surprised if it dropped much more than this. It could renegotiate this zone here that we talked about where it broke down off the 50 and reclaimed. This represents a strong area of support and it aligns with this volume profile node being very big. So yeah, I think this is an area to look for. If you're a long-term investor, you can call it $50. If you have a cost basis of 50, I think in a year or two, you're going to be very happy. Let's put it like that. Alrighty, guys. Okie dokie. Any more charts? Give me more charts. I'm going to go through. I have a few more. We can talk about some natural gas names. Highest prices, closing in on highest prices in 3 years for NG. Beautiful inverted head and shoulders playing out. Beautiful breakout. Undercut back test. I think this is still got a lot of ways to go. Just getting into winter. Should be a cold one. I'm not an expert. I don't know. Chart seems good. Respected the 6.2. Looking like it's going to test again. I think this is just one you play with the fibs. So fib to fib. We'll make sure these are log scale. Yeah. So other ways you can play this theme. You can play it with equity names that have high exposure to natural gas. I am an AR here. I think we're seeing a nice wedge break at the bottom of a nice channel at the midway point in a big cup and handle. So if I'm right, then then natural gas is bottom for the foreseeable future, and these names should see significant repricing. Hey Haley, welcome, welcome. Let's look at LAC. Oh, this is a fun one. So it looks like a 6.2 fib retest or maybe a 50% retest. Let's see. I still got it. Wait, reverse. Never mind. There we go. All right. Very close to a 6.2 retest. So this is what we would refer to as the golden pocket. Our 6.2 fib is the top of it. Our bottom is the 7.86 fib. And this creates a zone of interest where once a range is established, we're looking for this to be where buyers step back in. We also have the 50 week down here at 350. That's the top of the base. That is the top of this really high volume area, this high volume base. If you get back there, great time to add more. I would not be selling. I think this name has room to go up. Although if you are just a trader, you could say, hey, if it loses this level, I want to get out of the way, because essentially it has this big volume gap here. So this is a big level of interest. We need it to hold. Otherwise, pukes to 350 and you get involved in size there. But I don't think the theme is over. I just think that these names have very high short interest. So the second momentum gets out of the way, like here, it's just pile on, pile on, pile on, pile on. So it makes sense. Path of least resistance very well could be back down here. But long term, I don't hate it. Yeah, of course, Haley. Thanks for coming in. All right, talk saying, any thoughts on recent circular investing between hyperscalers like Amazon chips, like NVIDIA, energy providers? Yeah. And structural services. Will it last? No, I don't think so. I don't know. It's tough. There's a few ways we can look at it, and I'm not an expert. Again, just prefacing that. There's some aspect of griftiness to this. That said, this is not the same as the dot-com bubble, where everything had a crazy valuation in terms of GDP production. So that's one side of the thing. We're still very early in terms of if it is a bubble, which it seems to be. Doesn't mean that it's anywhere near the top. If it was, or if it is, then we are pricing our bubbles very differently than we did 20 years ago. The other side of it is JPM just released a very good, what do you call it? Report on the amount. I forget the details, but essentially it was describing how much revenue increases these companies would have to get in the next 10 years or so to offset their AI investments. And it seems unfeasible. Like we're talking $180 Netflix subscriptions, or, $100 iPhone, or, iCloud subscriptions or something like that. So I think that there will be drastic repricing in some of these. I don't think it's done, but think the market got a little ahead of itself. I'm really not sure how this will play out. It feels like it's going to be a case study for future economics books, to be honest. So I will hold off on too much speculation and just grab some popcorn and watch with you. How about that? OpenAI pledging cash they don't have. Yeah, it's all insane. It is insane for sure, no doubt. I do think we're just kind of entering a new paradigm though, where, and I'm sure every young investor felt like this with every big thing like the dot-com bubble or everything else. It's like, oh, the internet. It's like it's going to be, everything's going to be different. And I think there's two ways to look at it. Like, in one way they're right. Everything has been different since the start of the internet. In another way, the market got massively ahead of itself and these names needed to be taken out behind the dumpster and shot, So it can be both. The internet was not a fad, but it was a bubble. AI isn't a fad. Is it worth the premium that the market is saying it is? Time will tell. I strongly doubt it. How about that? But it's always better to not make hard and fast statements about this kind of stuff because it could be something very different. I don't know. I don't know. AI is definitely something crazy. ET looks great. Big base, looking like it's peekaboo in here, or about to. I think ET looks very good. I think energy in general looks good. Let's start with XLE, then I'll talk about ET in particular because ET is lagging XLE, but basically the same. We got giant bases here. Just massive bases here. Consolidating for a very long time. 4 years going on, 3-4 years now, near the highs of these ranges. Oh my goodness. Imagine if you got XLE shares at $25. Wow. Anyways, monthly, oscillator flipped and is starting to push up. Very constructive monthly candles here. Just beautiful. Really, really nice. Weekly oscillator curled up last week. It's pushing and showing continuation this week, closing at high of week. Beautiful for energy. This is really where we should be looking at most. Chevron, one of the big boys, very tight flag inside of a very tight flag. We go back. These are not monthly candles. They're quarterly candles. Look at the size of this pattern, guys. This is like half as big as the gold cup and handle. But the bigger the pattern, the bigger the return. So I'm looking for significant moves on these in the next couple of years. Chevron's great. Exxon, potentially even better. Just look at the tight consolidation there. Excuse me. ET here. Quarterly candles, very cool. Monthly candles getting tight. I like it. I like it. These energy charts just look so weird for me. They're just very like algo grindy up. Like on the monthly, this is very uniform. But in general, I like it. So, how about look at tan. Peekabooing through the channel, hit my target, almost hit the weekly 200. I don't think it's done. Might be crazy. I don't think it's done. Here's a real risky one. JKS, Chinese Solar. I think it's giving us an entry though. I like this one. So it's holding our moving average cloud. It's holding the back test of the downtrend line. I like this one for rebound solar plays. I also like SHLS. I got some of this when it filled the gap here at 796. Just looking today, so I'm pretty happy with this. I'm already up 5%. Sick. So this is one of these where you can just say, hey, long term, looking at the weekly chart, man, this is strong. And it's got room. Big volume base here that it's pushing out of, just massive. If it comes back and tests this volume range, I'd probably want to be a buyer. You can look at the daily, say, okay, there's a gap there, breakaway gap. I bet if I buy it right here, I get some meaningful bounce that gives me a nice cushion to potentially hold this for a trade here. So what I think it's going to do is recover the 50 and do something like that. So I just literally I was like, oh, this filled. I placed it like a week or two ago when I was up here and I saw this. I was like, oh, it filled. I'm up 5%. Nice. Easy trades. SLB, yes. OAH is the sector I'm looking at, the subsector. So oil services, essentially. SLB looks great. I am in Bore and Rig. I believe both are back testing breakouts here today. There's Bore, really clean chart. Rig, also testing back breakout here, I'd say. I love both of these. I also love SLB. It is lagging a little bit, but looking very constructive. The leader, also very impressive. Halliburton here, doing the same thing, but up higher in the base. I love all of these. If we pull back just a little bit, we can see how much room there is on these as well. But we just got to recognize that they are running quite hot. This one less so. And I like this one a little more for that reason, SLB. Something like that. Yeah, that's nice. Looks like a clean channel break. So yeah, I like these long-term. And again, these are just really long-term zones that we're playing off of here too. So that's why energy is finally catching. So many of the stocks in them are coming back to these very, very high volume key levels. And we can look at OIH here. And like, oh man, yeah, Talk, thanks for reminding me. This is cash money, ain't it? That's what we call high time frame consolidation. It's getting real tight, guys. Where's my volume profile? There it is. Let's draw some zones. And look, see the point of control? We're so close. This is a focus next week for sure. Let me put it in the watch list before I forget. Very good stuff there. I really like that chart. We can definitely look at Microsoft and Amazon for sure. Let's see. Are there any names in OIH that I'm missing that are looking good right now? SLB, HAL. We talked rig and the offshore ones. TDW is probably blue chip there. This is very pretty. Look at that. It's a really nice chart. SDRL, Seadrill. These are all setting up really nicely. Microsoft had a nice day. Yeah, let's take a look at this. Hey, right off the 20 week. Good zone. Draw out this zone a little bit here. Looks valid. Got a volume profile. So if I had this zone drawn, this was the high volume node. If it's up here now, that means it's migrating up, which is very good. We have nice relative equal highs here to sweep. Looking good. Almost reclaiming the EMA cloud. Getting very close. Man, you got the triple stacked EMA. So this is really, really nice for the Quality style swing traders where all your moving averages are flattening out. You got your 50, you've got your 10, you've got your 20, all lining up. And now once we get the crossover on the daily here, we should have a nice push up. We can see and front run this daily crossover by looking at the 4 hour and the hourly momentum. We got the crossover on the 4 hour. And hourly obviously happened in the morning. So it's looking pretty darn good, I gotta say. One of my favorite mega caps. Big old megaphone. All right, Amazon. And MicroStrategy. Yeah, save the worst for last, for sure. So, it's a big cup. This is a sloppy handle, sloppy consolidation. Thanks, Mr. and ex-Mrs. Bezos, for your sell orders. Bopping it a few times and making the chart all weird. But overall, common sense prevails. We beat them, guys. We beat the billionaires. We broke through. Well, maybe not. Maybe they're still. All right, so we're back testing. I think it needs to go a little deeper, probably. There's an imbalance. Just retest the whole breakout at 225, probably, at this rate. It could be a doji save stick, and this could be like a sharp falling channel. We could draw that out as a possibility. I do kind of see that. Yeah, okay. That looks pretty decent. Dead cat next week. Market flushes once more a little deeper, and then we rally like crazy into the end of the year. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know, guys. We can dream, though. All right, let's wrap it up with something sad. Because why not? Oh, Michael Saylor, what happened? Oh, did you have to sell 47 Bitcoins? Oh, no. Oh, the Ponzi scheme guy is getting beat. Oh, no. Back to a key level, though. Gotta watch. I think it's probably going down here, though. I'll watch it at 166. It's probably still a good short, honestly. To zero? I don't know. To half of this? I don't know. All right, yeah, we gotta look at MU. I wanted to short MU. That was the one because I was like, all right, if I'm gonna be late to shorting everything, I'm just gonna short the last thing to fall. And I was charting it this morning. while everything else was blood in the streets, and it was down here. And I was like, man, this doesn't look that weak. It looks like it's basing. I wish I just got long. That would have been much better. But instead, I just did not short. But I was thinking, man, if it breaks this low, it can just tumble pretty fast back down here. But it didn't. So it's a flag. I will never be smarter than my 20 and my 10 moving average. Very strong. Always keep in mind that Michael Saylor lost $6 billion in 2000. How many billion is he going to lose this year? Guess we're going to see. Yeah, no, I do think MU is going to keep flying. I think it's very strong. That being said, we are tapping into the 261 extension, which is insane to even think about, but it has been very responsive to previous Fib extensions, especially that 1.6. So just something to keep in mind. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw a pullback here, but that being said, it's not showing that it's ready to pull back, that's for sure. Broke a 5-year consolidation period this year. Yeah, we'll zoom out. You're not wrong. Like, it's definitely going higher. Don't get me wrong. It's just a matter of when and how much it needs to pull back first. Because remember, it broke this consolidation range technically in 2021. And I remember being there and being like, oh my God, it's the start of something new. MU is going to be a $250 stock. And we were right, but it just needed to go down 50% first. So keep in mind time frame and the market's ability to wash out new traders. So we will see. We will see at the top of this channel too. I don't know. We'll find out. We will find out next week. But for that, or for this week, this is all, folks. I'm going to wrap it up. I hope you guys had a good week and enjoyed. Keep on coming. We're going to be doing more streams. I'm going to start streaming the Power Hour on Trade the Pool right here every Power Hour. You can come on in, find me. I'll be live trading. I'll be tape reading. I will be taking requests. So find me there. You can find me on Twitter at Steve Tileman, SteveTilemann. And in my bio, you can find my Discord as well, where you can find me at just about all hours of the day. So that is my information. We are Trade the Pool. We also have a great community Discord there with live trading as well. Check us out there. Have a great week, guys, and let's hit it hard next week. Take care now. Have a good one.